And welcome to Light Years. We're recording this Thursday, February 2nd, 8:30 p.m. after the Warriors have lost 134-117 to the Denver Nuggets. Sitting across from me, I got Aaron Larsoul. Aaron, I feel like losing to the Nuggets on a back-to-back. I was honestly surprised Steph even played, but no Draymond, no Clay. Expected. Like, the loss itself is not surprising. With that said, it doesn't mean frustrations don't come out while you're watching it, because the Warriors started really hot and it looked like they might be able to pull a little upset tonight.
Yeah. I mean, yes, all of that. I thought it was interesting. You know, Steph said the other day that he was kind of campaigning. It's never players that want to do the load management and sit out. And he was campaigning to play both sides of the back-to-back. And I think the follow-up question was, like, do you expect your campaigning to be successful? And he said, yeah, actually, kind of. So I was surprised, much like you were, to see Steph play. The other part of this is, low-key, Denver is the most difficult back-to-back in the league.
Yeah, that's the part I didn't even say. Like, of all back-to-backs, flying to altitude where they have a built-in home court in general.
So that's part of it. That's a lot of it. Playing in the altitude is part of it. The other thing that a lot of people don't know, unless you've kind of experienced this, is the Denver airport is farthest away from actual Denver, like where you stay, of anywhere in the league. It's like a 45 minutes.
Very inconvenient flight.
So to have it be the second, and it takes like 45 minutes to get from the airport to your hotel. So especially if it's the second night of a back-to-back, you're already going to be getting into wherever you would be flying late. And then to have to do that and have the extra 45 minutes, that and the altitude just make Denver the worst back-to-back in the league. So not surprising. I thought the Warriors played reasonably well, and it was kind of an even game for all of it, except for that like 90-second stretch where Steph threw the ball to the other team a bunch of times and Denver went on that 16-0 run.
Yeah, and to your point on it, like, I mean, Fitz mentioned multiple times, oh, you don't get into your hotel room at 3 a.m. and that sort of thing, but it is kind of a thing.
It is a thing, yes.
Yeah. So, all things considered, loss, not surprising. It stings more because they lost the game they should have won the night before in Minnesota, and now the Warriors are back to 500. They have not been more than 2 games over 500 all season, which is both surprising and unsurprising at the same time. If you've watched every game, it's not surprising.
Yeah. So after that start, where did they start? 3-7? Was that right?
Correct.
So after they got to 2 games under, whenever the first time they were 2 games under, have they been more than 2 games under or more than 2 games over ever since?
I'd have to check the under, because I feel like they've hit 3 games under a couple times, but like, your point, your big picture point's accurate. Like, they haven't particularly stretched far from 500 in either direction. Anytime it feels like they're going to, they go on a little winning streak. Anytime it feels like they're going to expand, they go on a losing streak. Just kind of sucks. I don't know how else to put it.
At some point, it's just who they are, right?
It is just kind of who they are. Like, you could make the case Draymond's value was exemplified tonight by not being out there. Like, Denver, I don't know, their effort level. What would you give it as? B-?
I mean, that might be kind. Yeah.
Yeah, they felt like a team who's just like, we can put these guys away when we want to, and we're not going to extend more energy than we need to. And they're right. Without Draymond, the Warriors are not a good defensive team. Even if Looney and Wiggins are good defensive players and they have the bones of a potentially good defensive team, they're not a good defensive team without Draymond. And Denver took advantage of it. That said, like, I don't know. We can keep going through it. Like, here's a question I've wanted to ask you. I've been toying with it. I don't know what to make of Andrew Wiggins anymore. He had the season of his career and playoff run to kind of right the wrongs, like all the negative stereotypes about him, and it's earned. And he also had an amazing start to the season, but he's not been good since he's been back from the injury. He had a couple decent games. Tonight was another. I don't really care that he was 3 for 14. Well, I do, to be fair. But, he didn't shoot the ball well, but it's just like the overall impact and that sort of stuff. It's just, it feels very kind of stuck in mud. And
I don't very the worst of Minnesota Wiggins. Is that that's what you're getting at? Yeah.
Not that bad, but yeah, I mean, it does feel like something needs to change there. And I just don't know, if it's a combo of coming back off injury and nothing with the Warriors being right, or if it's something bigger. I'm tempted to just say, like, man, everyone's off on this team. So it's like, I don't want to really point to anyone. But
I think it's the same thing, right? Like, yes. So it's the same thing as, like, it's a microcosm of the Warriors, right? They've been up and down at different times, right? Wiggins started the year incredibly. The Warriors did not. But at some point, I think you can say the same thing about Wiggins as you can say about the Warriors. Like, at some point this far into the season, maybe this is just who he is this season. Maybe this is just who the Warriors are this season. It doesn't mean there aren't reasons for it, right? Like, Wiggins has had a very strange injury and sickness, last 2 months? But at this point, he's been back long enough to get his legs back under him and get his timing back, and he's been just bad. There are reasons why the Warriors have been very up and down and just decidedly mediocre. But at some point, the reasons don't really matter anymore, and this is just what it is.
Yeah, at some point, it's like, this is who you are until you give me 10 games in a row to tell me things have changed. I'm no longer going to be able to react to 2 hot games of being like, the season changing. It's just
it's like a plane analogy, right? Like, if a plane is taking off, like, there is still a runway. There's still enough time left for the Warriors to, fly the plane and take off and get to whatever heights that they hope to get to. But you're running out of runway here.
Yeah. We have a quick update on the Draymond situation. Draymond sat tonight with a left calf. The only reason I'm a little concerned about it is calf is what led to back last year. Right. Steve Kerr on the post-game press conference goes, Draymond Green calf tightness. The belief is it's something minor, but he'll get it checked out when we're home. Well,
right.
Steve doesn't like to comment on injuries because in the past he has, and he's got in trouble. So he does this. We'll see. We'll see what happens there, but I don't love it, to be honest with you.
No, the soft tissue stuff with Draymond always makes me nervous.
No, given how he plays, not great. So, but we'll see. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to concern an injury thing I don't know anything about. We also got a super chat from our guy Awesome. Can't keep punting these back-to-backs. They're running out of games. Another one on Tuesday. Can they stop wasting our time and start the rebuild or not? First off, he is correct. There are officially only 30 games left in the season. Like, at some point, you got to make a run or you don't, Like you said, maybe this is who they are. But it is, 30 games here.
There are reasons for optimism.
Give me them.
But, I mean, the starting 5, I guess it's not the starting 5 anymore because Steve is obsessed with starting Jordan Poole, which I understand in one part, because Poole is good when he starts and terrible when he doesn't. But the starting 5 that started the season is still the best 5-man group in the league, and Poole and Steph and Clay together are just awful. There is the eye test fails, the analytics fail. So the optimism is, okay, there you have the best 5-man group maybe in the league. That's a reason for optimism. Once you get to the playoffs, you don't really have to play more than 8 guys. That's a reason for optimism because the first 8 are pretty good. There's also reasons for pessimism, which is why you get what the Warriors are right now.
Which is 500.
The part to answer, like, a part of the answer of that question, like, can we get it together or start the rebuild already? I think, and you and I were texting about this a second ago, I think it kind of goes back to the beginning of the year, and I'll call it death by half measures. Like, part of it's on Kerr. How much of that is Bob Myers? How much of that is the front office? We don't know. So this gets laid at who plays gets laid at Steve Kerr's feet, because that's the only person we can say that person is making that decision.
But I mean, Steve lets you know what he thinks. This was we'll talk about James Wiseman in a few minutes. First game Wiseman's played in
December
2023.
December
literally in the new year. And he's been healthy for the last 5 or so. So he's letting you know by not playing him what he thinks.
But he played him at the beginning of the year.
And he promptly pulled him out of the rotation.
Kind of played Kuminga, but not really. Kind of played Moody, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
And the Warriors also were losing games during this time. So if you're not developing the young guys and you're not winning games, you're stuck in the middle. And it's like if you have two quarterbacks, you have neither. Our Niners just lost on Sunday, right? But if you have two quarterbacks, you have none.
You have 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, right. 3.5. But
sure.
So like it's death by half measures. They're accomplishing neither side of it.
Alan saying, I don't see how you blame Kerr for the roster. To clarify, I don't think either of us are blaming Kerr for the roster. We're blaming misalignment on.
Yeah, I'm not blaming Kerr for the roster.
On just everyone.
But you would know better than me, but like even you who knows about as well as anybody who's not inside the organization, we don't have an answer for what portion of why one guy is playing and not playing. How much of that is Steve? How much of that is Bob Myers? How much of that is Joe Lacob? We don't have the answer to that. So all we can do is point at the coach and say, you're playing this guy and maybe you should be playing this guy.
Here's how I see it. Front office clearly was hoping that they could develop guys into roles while keeping them at a title level. The coaching staff at some point with the terrible start decided that was not possible because coaches are more concerned with winning games today than big picture stuff, particularly. And Steve has said this like 5 times, like I feel an obligation to my guys to go for a title, and he should feel an obligation. They've won 4 titles together. As long as he has Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and they're able to compete with anyone, and they still are very much. Maybe the roster's not, but those 3 guys, I still feel like if they have the right team, they can hang with anyone in the NBA. And there's not a lot of guys. How many teams in the NBA can say their core can do that? 5?
Yeah. I mean, Milwaukee,
Milwaukee, the Lakers
the
are a mess, but you put the right team around LeBron, they're always in the mix. The Celtics, same could be said for the Nets, who are playing well right now. I don't want to see a good team around KD and
you thought
Kyrie.
Maybe the Suns at one point, but they're the biggest fraud.
No, I never bought them. I was always I sniffed that one out from the beginning. Biased or not, I did.
I had to tee you up for that one. just lay that one.
My point
prove
is
that fastball for you.
My point is, I get it. But now, like you said, and maybe they won last year. Let's be honest. They won last year, and that had
doing the same thing basically.
Yeah, but they didn't have as many kids on the roster last year, and the kids didn't play, dude.
Doing the same thing, meaning relying on we can develop young guys and we'll rely on our core. The problem is that takes an incredible amount of confidence. And when it doesn't go well at the beginning of the year, you still have to have the confidence that we're still riding with this anyway. My issue is, like, at this point, what is the plan? They're stuck in between.
Here's what I think the difference between last year and this year is.
Otto Porter and Bielitsa and GP2?
Correct. But let's call it what it is. They got incredibly high-level production from veteran minimum contracts. And I don't think Steve Kerr really had to develop the young guys in a meaningful way because none of them played in the playoffs. He may have given Kuminga a run in the regular season, but it was Otto Porter and GP2 and Bielitsa and Damian Lee and those guys in the playoffs.
JTA,
And this year, they don't have those veteran minimum guys. And I don't think that speaks to a front office problem with finding veteran minimum guys. I think that's just the nature of veteran minimums. Some years you hit, some years you don't. I think they think their plan was smarter than it was. And maybe they just got lucky with veteran minimums last year. And the coach never had to figure out how to develop guys and make them meaningful. This year, guys like JaMychal Green, that's more your classic veteran minimum. The guy plays hard.
Yeah.
He certainly has a role. He's not a $10 million player you magically stole for $1 million, which is what Otto Porter was and GP2 was.
Yeah.
And because of that, the inability to develop those guys, those young guys around the core now looks way worse because last year, if Kuminga or Wiseman didn't play a minute last year, but if like Kuminga or Moody are unable to play, it's fine. Otto's got it, that sort of thing. Yeah. Now they don't have the training wheels, and it shows how how little depth they have.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the reason I'm saying you're doing it again, like nobody wanted, nobody. I mean, Kerr did, but Steph didn't want GP2 last year. It was the same thing, right? Because you and I sat on this very show a handful of times at least and said, "What are they doing? Trade the young guys for somebody that can help." They had the confidence not to do that, and it worked.
I mean, did they?
It looks like they're running it back.
I just want to.
They've aborted mission like a few weeks in.
I just want to be clear. Bob Myers publicly admitted they tried to acquire players at the deadline and couldn't get it done last year.
No, I mean before the season even.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, and you're the point you're making though is a good one about like what you do generally with veteran minimum guys, right? Like Otto Porter and GP2 were both minimum home runs. They were home runs last year. Bielitsa was a double, maybe. Usually,
like those,
those guys. You
every now and
like
then you
singles
find that,
every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you get what you're seeing now, right? The reason JaMychal Green is a veteran minimum guy. There's like two categories. There are either guys that can do one thing and that's it, or they can do a little bit of everything, but they can only do it once every 5 games.
Right. Not at a level that makes you want to give them more than a veteran minimum.
There's a reason. There's a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Nick Batum is an example of a guy a couple of years ago who it was very clear he was going to be a steal as a veteran minimum. Yeah. But those guys don't come along every year.
Those guys are the guys that are on terrible teams.
Sure. It's a confluence of factors.
Quit. Yeah, exactly. They just quit because they're on a terrible team and then they get bought out.
Yeah. All right. Solomon's Tech brings this up for us. There's no optimism, Aaron. We're 52 games in with the best starting 5, and we're 500. A trade won't fix the turnovers either. I disagree with him. And here's where I disagree. I think they need to shake up the roster just for like emotional karma. Like it does. Part of their terrible play right now is dog day frustration mixed with a team that's mediocre, like there is something to be said. Like you add a player who can play and there's a little more pep in Draymond's step. Clay's a little happier. Steph is a little more excited. Jordan Poole doesn't feel like he's, the butt of all the problems. I don't know if that's how he feels, but just, it does feel like he's carrying a larger load than he should. And, and on down the line, right? Like sometimes those type of things help.
So I agree, Solomon, that a trade won't fix the turnovers. I agree with that because the main culprits in the turnovers are guys that are still going to have the ball all the time. Steph, Poole, Draymond, like those guys are still going to, no matter who you go get, those guys are going to have the ball all the time and they're turnover prone. But tonight was a great reason or a great encapsulation of why the Warriors probably do need to do something. They were missing one front court player, Draymond Green, and that forced them.
Good one.
And yeah, he's great. He's all of it, all of that. But just in the rotation, you subtract one front court player, and they were forced to play somebody they haven't played in a month and a half, who wasn't any good before that. Because the other option would have been Anthony Lamb, who's a two-way guy that wasn't available.
Can we talk Wiseman? I meant to get to this way earlier. First minutes in 2023, first minutes since December 29th. Obviously, he got injured, missed a couple weeks there. Then since he's come back, he hasn't got any minutes. It kind of ties to the overarching point. Should he have been playing? What did you think of his minutes tonight? Should he have been playing more?
Should he have been playing more since he's returned, since he's been healthy, you mean?
Yes, obviously.
Like the last 5 games or so?
Yeah, exactly. Like, because let's be real about it. Minnesota, they played 7.5 guys, and that factored in heavily to that loss. And they'd been doing that, 7 to 8 man rotation for a few nights now where, older core, thin rotation, like shocker. They look tired. Should Wiseman have played more?
Yes. I mean, he's not any good, but the only way he has a chance of being any good is if he gets to play. And again, like if you're not going to play him in this situation, then you're never going to play him, which we had last time I was on, we had this conversation. Like, I think it was because Looney had 4 fouls in the first half and he didn't play. So my question was, why not send him to the G League then? So yeah, he should have been playing more. Would that have led to any wins, more wins? I don't know. But goes back to the beginning of the year. You're not winning games anyway. So you may as well do something, try to develop him. There's a chance he could develop.
Do you think you're playing hindsight bias on that one? Because it's like, now we know they're not winning those games. So, all that
that goes
with
back
a short-sighted rotation. Like, of course, if you told me they'd be 26-26 at this point, I'd have been like, I hope Wiseman got developed.
Right.
That's
fair. That's fair, but that goes back.
I was going to say, in some ways, this is the worst case scenario. They're not winning games and they haven't developed anyway.
Correct. But that is why I went back and said earlier that what they did last year, it ended up working. But to stick to that plan requires a ton of confidence. It requires specifically in the core, right? You think the core is good enough, even last year without evidence. I mean, without recent evidence, you think the core is good enough that you can do both. They went into this year thinking the core is good enough, we can do both. They tried to do both kind of at the beginning and then aborted mission because it wasn't working. So it takes the confidence, like it's not looking back at it. It is saying you have to have the confidence that these guys can carry you and you can still play the guys, or else the whole thing is sunk. Yes, Wiseman should have been playing more.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit it actually 5 minutes ago. It's half measures across the board. That's frustrating. Commit to playing them and live with the result, or move them and be all in. But this whole like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, and we're gonna do all these things. It's shockingly, it's leading you to being a middle of the road team.
It gives you 25 and 25 or whatever they
26
are.
and 26, but
26 and 26.
It's still 500. So it's tiresome. It's tiresome at this point.
But there's still that thing like in the back of your head where you go like, if they can just make it to the playoffs, like, I still think they're the favorites in the West.
Oh,
I think Denver's the best team in the West, but I don't think Denver can beat the Warriors.
I don't know. I'm with you where I can't count out the core of this team. Like, I need to see it happen. I need to see them explode in the playoffs before I believe it'll happen. Like, I've watched this team for a decade. I've said this. I'm going down with the ship, like whatever it may be, Steph, Clay, Draymond, like they are the greatest core that the Warriors have had in my lifetime. And I'd be shocked if I ever see a better one in my lifetime. Right.
You will not.
Yeah. I'm playing math here. I'm definitely not living.
Okay. Like years, unless you want to go back 4 years, right. And include Durant, but other than that,
sure. No. But even with that, that's just a cherry on top of the same core. But my point stands, I don't think you're going to see 3 guys stick with the franchise for over a decade and give you 4 rings, 6 finals appearance and all that sort of stuff. Like this is, there's like 5 teams in NBA history who've done that type of stuff. So that's neither here nor there. I have a hard time picking against them, but yeah, I feel that way. We got one more question to get to real quick. That's just more of a comment. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Spoelstra's great.
Spo's my favorite coach, so I'm not going to criticize him. He's also stubborn. Newsflash: all great coaches are stubborn.
I got another newsflash for you. All coaches are stubborn, whether they're great or not.
The great ones just have stuff to fall back on to justify it. Right. Should the
great ones you say this is why I'm stubborn, and the bad ones you say this is what you were stubborn about.
The bad ones let you second guess them at a much higher level. Should we get to voicemails real quick? I think we should. We got some good calls here. Timmy, let's do it.
What's up, guys? I just feel bad for the Warriors at this point, especially like the core. It's so clear that they really like to try to have fun, and the margin of error is so thin. If they want to win, they just can't have fun. But this whole Steve Kerr hitting singles thing is just not who Steph, Clay, and Draymond want to be. They want to throw that risky push ahead pass. They want to try to hit that bounce pass through. That's what gets them going. And in order to win, they're going to have to slog through playing unfun basketball. And I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they want to do it. And this team as currently constructed won't let them get that little margin of error they need to play the way they want to play. It just sucks to fucking watch.
It's interesting. It's an interesting point. So, like, I feel like let me sum up my interpretation of his call.
Okay.
You're not as talented as you've been in the past, so you can't fuck around as much, and you have to play smarter the whole way.
Yes, I agree with what you're saying. I think that is evident. I disagree with the part of that Steve Kerr is like forcing them to hit singles. The Warriors lead the league in 3-pointers attempted and 3-pointers made. So they're not shooting them incredibly well. They're shooting them well, but not incredibly well.
Did you see Steve do that last game? He signals single where he's
no, I didn't see that.
He's trying to, so it's become a thing. He's trying to imply to his team,
take the single. You don't need a home run.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan, I don't need the triple hezzy step back from 28 feet.
Well, I mean, he is the one guy, right? Yeah. I
mean, but also Steph and other guys. And like, obviously Steph is allowed to do that because he's Steph Curry. And I mean, I really shouldn't have to explain to listeners why he's allowed to, but you know, like the general concept is like the team loves to make the home run play to get the crowd oohing and awing. And he's just like, just play simple, guys, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's something,
hit the single.
There's something inherent to this. Kind of goes to like the joy, specifically with Steph, but also with Draymond, that like there are going to be turnovers, right? Like you're going to get greatness, but coming with that greatness, part of that is the turnovers offensively. That has been a thing that has been inherent. That is why Steve Kerr's hair is whatever color it is now, is because he wants to like it's gray and pull it out because it drives him nuts. But some of that is built into how the Warriors play. They pass more, right? For whatever reason, even when Steph's mom yells at him and finds him, he will make the one arm swing pass that's never going away. It's not particularly effective, but kind of like when Draymond crosses the line with physicality and with emotion, you can't get the good and separate the stuff you don't like. It's the same way with Steph, and it's the same way with Jordan Poole too. Like if you neuter those guys, you're not going to get the good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of what it is. And it's what it's been for years and years and years. But to your point, they're not as talented as they've been.
Well, to me, it's and we can get to this a little bit, but like the big thing is I don't think they have as much defensive talent as they used to, because usually, like if you break down the Warriors' philosophy to the core, it's like defend, move the ball, and live with Steph's creativity, you know? Like Steph will handle the offense, and with that will come like some mind-boggling stuff that sometimes you don't like, because on the other end of it, he does stuff that no one else on planet Earth has ever been able to do. Yes. But if we just defend, we'll be fine, you know? And I don't think they have the defensive talent they've had in the past.
No, I mean, they absolutely do not.
I mean, they have one lineup that has the capability of defending, but like that's the problem. Just one lineup combo.
Yeah. I have said for a long time, like people have always seen the Warriors offense, right? And all the Splash Brothers and all the fireworks and thought that's what it was. The reason the Warriors win all the time, or have in the past, is because there will be a stretch at some point during the game where the Warriors turn your water off, period. There's a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 minute stretch where the Warriors turn your water off, and they're going to keep making shots. The Warriors will still make shots, and at some point, you're just not going to score. And those 4-minute stretches, often they were in the third quarter at Chase and at Oracle, the Warriors are going to put 16 on you, and you're going to what Denver did to the Warriors today, basically.
Yeah, if
going to be a stretch where the Warriors,
if they're feeling it, it's a 20-2 run,
right?
And it's hard to beat any NBA team.
The offense was the same. That they would just have a period where the Warriors would turn your water off.
That's true. All right. Let's get to the next one, Tim.
Hey, guys. I want to talk Caruso. I totally agree with Andy and Sam that Caruso would be a really good fit with the team, and I think most people agree with that. And I see a knock on Caruso being, well, he's redundant because we have Dante. Well, the reality is Dante's going to leave this offseason because I think he's playing really well. So we would have Caruso, I think, for another year after that. I think he has 2 years left on his contract. So, I mean, feel free. If I'm wrong about that, don't air this, but I'm pretty sure he has 2 years left. So, like, thinking in the future, that's another reason to go for Caruso. Thanks, guys.
First off, appreciate the call. Second off, you're not wrong. Third off, even if you're wrong, we'd lie. No. All right, let's talk Caruso. We're less than 7 days away from the trade deadline. Most of you are going to be listening to this on Friday, so we're 6 days away from the trade deadline. And let me ask you a big picture question first.
Okay.
How spicy do you think this trade deadline's getting?
I think it is going to be spicy. I think it's going to require somebody to kind of break the dam and set the market, because the market got out of what a first round pick is worth, got out of whack over the summer.
Just blame Rudy Gobert, please.
I mean, we can blame him for COVID. We can blame him for for messing up the trade market.
You killed the dynasty. You can't guard the Warriors, but you killed their trade chances.
So I think it will get spicy, but I think somebody is going to have to take the first plunge first. As it relates to Caruso, the caller was correct. He's this year and next year, and then in 24, I think it's 24-25. He has a partial guarantee for that season. So
right, is that team or player option?
It's just a partial guarantee. So he's
every team on earth would pick that up at that rate.
No, so it's not a team either. It's up to the team. Either he's making like 9 something, they can waive him and pay him $3 million, or keep him and pay him 9.
So for all intents and purposes, if you were to trade for him, you could have him at a discounted rate relative to his production for the next 2.5 years.
Correct. 2 seasons after this, 3 playoffs theoretically.
Pretty attractive deal.
Caruso's a damn good player. I think he would
meant to play for the Warriors.
I think he would fit well with the Warriors. Basketball IQ, good moving the ball.
Excellent defender.
He has experience, right? Won the title with the Lakers in the bubble, so has played in big games. Has that kind of it started in the clinching game, in fact. So I don't think those playoff moments that the Warriors thrive on, I don't think those would be too big for him. There is something strange about it, though. He's a really good defense. You know what? He's kind of like a bigger Dante, better defensively, not as good offensively, because he's just a connector.
Or a smaller Andre Iguodala for the Warriors.
That's a better. Yeah, you know what? That's a better comparison, because AC's a decent. He can shoot it a little bit.
Yeah, he's not a shooter.
He's just incredibly hesitant, right? You'll see games where he plays, 26 minutes or something like that. Has 3 assists and 5 rebounds and a couple steals and a block, and he's like 1 for 3 from the floor, 2 points.
He's very Iguodala-ish on offense.
Yeah.
And it's to be seen if he has the Iguodala like troll gene where he'll randomly hit 3 threes in a big game. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, Andy and I always talk about it. It's like, all right, you can point to all the negative things, but like if it's a game 7, Andre's putting the shots up if he needs to put them up.
You're doing your Max Kellerman. Give me Iguodala.
Look, man, give me enough big games without. Look, actually, I'll be clear with it. I'm watching a lot of non-Iguodala play these days. It makes me romanticize the Iguodala.
That's fair. Yeah. Yes, but I think that's a better comparison. AC's a damn good player, and would fit. He's the kind of guy that would fit anywhere. Outside of the fact that he's a not particularly willing shooter, he's a great fit for the Warriors.
This isn't even a negative Caruso thing. It's more of a comment on the Warriors' current roster.
Yeah.
Dante's good enough for a backup guard role.
Yeah.
What they really need is a 3-4 man who's a bigger wing, basically an Otto Porter replacement, someone who's 6'8", 6'9", who can do Warriors-y things. Ideally has athleticism. I know Otto didn't, but like that sort of thing. Caruso upgrades their talent and helps them, but like he doesn't address those things, you're still just kind of like going to be playing Wiggins and Clay at the 4, and you can be really small. So,
right. I mean,
these are not reasons to not acquire him if you can get him. But
Steve, I think it was today. Maybe it was last night. Said like, I view Clay as a 3-4, not a 2-3. So I guess so. But like, the Warriors have 4 guards, and they're all pretty good. They have Steph and Poole and DiVincenzo.
It's not
and
the
Clay,
position of weakness. So, yeah. If you were to look at the roster, guard's not the position of weakness. No matter how good Caruso is, how much he fits everything they do, and the team control is very attractive for a team who's over the cap. Like, at least you got like this rotation piece who connects everything and kind of makes everyone better for the next couple of years. Not the perfect fit, but hey, man.
No, it'll save Joey Light years some money, right? Because
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that basically financially, I mean, you're not trading Kuminga. So financially, that basically has to be Wiseman, who's guaranteed $12 million next year. Caruso's at 9. Like, okay, it's only a $3 million difference, but with the tax, for the tax purposes, it's much bigger than $3 million difference. And you have to figure out with Wiseman, are you extending him? Which is a decision I don't know how to make at this point also. So it saves you from that.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next call.
Hey guys, my name is Greg, aka G Money, aka Greg Hero, and I was calling this suicide hotline. I mean the Light Years hotline, just to just talk about how it's just the same shit, different day. This was an expected loss, so it doesn't really care as much, but still, Wiggins been selling ever since he came back from injury. He's been playing drunk every day. Well, thanks.
I mean, one, I appreciate the goon creativity.
Yeah.
Love you all. Keep them coming through. We did hit on Wiggins a little earlier, so I kind of wish we'd saved it for after that call. But I don't know, that's frustrating. I don't know what to make of him.
No, so here, this is like a big picture thing that's not related to Wiggins specifically, but games like tonight are why you can't lose yesterday, why you can't lose to Charlotte, why you can't lose to Detroit twice, why you can't lose to Orlando
by Detroit
twice.
And Orlando. Like, you told me preseason they would get swept by Detroit and Orlando. I don't know. Probably
Orlando, I think, is my favorite team in the NBA to watch that like I don't cover or talk about or follow. Like,
I need the Warriors to make a trade with Orlando because Orlando has nothing but front court players.
Yeah, they have,
and no
like
guards.
8, 6'10", to 7'3" guys.
0 guards. They're literally like if you wanted to trade Jordan Poole, Orlando is the perfect spot.
Can I interest you in a lightly used Mo Bamba? Because I can promise you he's quite available.
Oh, I'm shooting higher. I want a Jonathan Isaac, maybe a Bull.
Are you sure Jonathan Isaac is shooting higher?
Yes, that dude can defend.
Yeah, but he also hasn't played in 3 years.
It's been 4 games, but I feel confident. Now we'll see. But like your point stands. Like there's a plethora of options. We could debate them all. They're my
favorite team to watch. I want them
fun.
to start. I want them to start 5-7 footers, and they're not that far from it.
Yeah, I mean, they're right there. Let's get to the next call.
I mean, at this point, like, just trade the core and start the rebuild. Like, you just holding it hostage now. You're just holding the core hostage with this, like, 2 timeline plan. Second point is, like,
my man.
I don't think Steve has done a good job coaching this year. Like, if you told me Eric Spoelstra had this roster, like, I guarantee.
My man. Love you, but we can't go there. Can't go there the whole way.
Trade the core for what?
No,
I've already draft told you. Picks to build around the young guys that aren't working.
I will not entertain this. I'm fully happy signing up for a season of Clay shooting 30% while they go 20 and 62 at this stage. I'm willing to live with that. We're not doing that right now. By the way, I thought I would get that this season, given his start to the season, but let's leave it at this. I wanted to ask you this. This will be really quick.
Okay.
No second Warrior on the All-Star team.
Yeah.
Not particularly surprised. Did
Right.
any All-Star snubs surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, the Jaren Jackson Jr. being there is kind of difficult to defend because he hasn't played more than AD and Zion.
Right. So
So I
if
don't-
the bar is those guys aren't
Right.
playing
And they
enough
both
minutes.
finished they were like right there with in terms of the fan voting, we're like way ahead of him. Yeah, Jaren
No, I'm
Jackson
with
Jr.
you.
may
If
win Defensive Player of the Year, and he probably should, but like yeah.
I'm with
I
you.
was surprised.
personally
I was
didn't think
surprised
any of
Julius
them
made it from the Knicks. I was surprised Randall made it. I didn't think either of the Knicks belonged, but
Well, my whole thing is, and this drives me insane. I can understand a Nick making the All-Star team. It's not like a mandatory, like in my heart, like, oh god, they're the 7 seed. Gotta get them an All-Star, you know. But if I was to pick a Knicks player to be an All-Star, I feel like Jalen Brunson is an obvious choice. I feel like everything revolves around him. He's kind of like the heart of the team. Also, just the best player on the team in general.
Yes.
So that's the other one. And I felt the same way about the Sacramento Kings. I think Sabonis is a really good player. I think he's had a really good season. And the Sacramento Kings absolutely do deserve an All-Star. I would have picked De'Aaron Fox.
yes.
I would have picked De'Aaron Fox.
Not Harry B. No love for Harry B.
My guy is just the quintessential professional, but he's not All-Star.
I think they also need to. I mean, this is always a conversation, but kind of just do away with the position thing.
Sure.
Like, you know, the Embiid not starting thing. There's an argument for the guys that are starting ahead of him. He's going to.
But
finish
yeah, if you're
going
to
to
pick the 5 best players in the East, sorry, 4 of them are front court players this
right.
year, right?
And plus, I mean, like they're not playing. Like I don't care about creating a team because it's not East versus West anyway.
Sure.
So who cares? It's going to sort itself out because I assume KD's not going to play, so Embiid will be a starter. But like we can get rid of that because we're not playing East versus West anyway. So get rid of the positions. You know, I think it is going to be interesting if there is an injury replacement in the West. You know, like where does AD should probably be in that group of first people? I mean, because he was maybe the best player in the NBA for a short stretch, but he's been damn good.
Stop.
I said a very short stretch, but yeah, I just like I don't get the.
Jordan Poole's been the best player in the NBA certain nights, so.
He may have been the best player in the NBA for the last whatever 15 or 20 games of last season.
Yeah. Anyway, it's All-Star. It is what it is. Aaron, I appreciate you, my man.
My pleasure.
We'll be back.